I woke up this morning at 3:20 in Detroit in a blizzard, and have been traveling since, so I'm kind of out of it. But I did put this together. Any of you who do decide to run for office will do better than I did in terms of percentage. I sucked. I had 2.8%, 125,000 votes. Now, you can make excuses for that. It was statewide office. People don't vote for executive. But both our Senate candidate and our Lieutenant Governor candidate did better than I did. And when you're running for president or governor, it is hard to get people to vote. One of the things you're going to have to answer if you're a candidate is, why would I waste my vote on you? And I think we'll talk about that more, because that's the question. If you succeed in every way, there's one more question they're going to have for you that they wouldn't have for the Democrat or Republican candidate. Because they can say, well, yeah, I actually think you're the best candidate, but now tell me, why would I waste my vote on you, since you're not going to win? So we'll talk about that more at the end. But I do want to say it is sort of odd, and I appreciate your patience for watching me, because I up here did worse than any of you who run for office are going to do. A lot of you have a chance at double digits or better if you do the things that Matt has been talking about.
You kept us on that.
Okay, I failed to get I failed to get below 2%. It is true that if you set your goals low enough, you can be a success. So here's the outline of what I want to say. What is your strategy? The strategy has three parts. Now, this, I mean, is your strategy as a candidate. This takes place, what I'm talking about takes place sometime after you've already done the things that Matt has been talking about. So we divided up our tasks so that the initial fundraising, initial organizing, and work with the party to identify people in whatever sort of district that you're working in have already been done. So what are you as a candidate going to do? I'm happy to share this PowerPoint. Just send me an email, and I'm happy to send it. But strategy has three parts: your goal, your message, and your medium. And then the things that I'm going to talk about at the end are earned media, a little bit about websites, although a lot of you know more about websites than I do, and what I hope is that we can brainstorm a bit about ways to make websites more effective. And then last, a little bit about fundraising, although again, I think a lot of you know more than that than I do. So I'm happy just to facilitate a discussion about that. Let me say something from the beginning about the difference between libertarians and other candidates. And I think a lot of the problem is that the debate has been dominated by progressive reformers that beginning at the 1895 through 1910, 1915, changed the tenor of our understanding of what it is that democracy was about. This is from French Declaration of the Rights of Man, 1789. And this is the way that rights could be written, that a Bill of Rights could be written. Source of all sovereignty resides essentially in the nation. No group, no individual may exercise authority not emanating expressly therefrom. That's a very debatable point. We debate that. We contest that. We think it comes from the individual. There's actually no such thing as the nation, except by virtue of the agreement of free and responsible citizens. So, an awful lot of the argument that you get is going to be couched in those sorts of terms. People who have questions for you are going to be couched in those sorts of, deny their premise. That's not true. Anything that we talk about from the nation is only an agreement among free and responsible citizens. There is no sovereignty that resides in the nation. Second, no one is to be disquieted because of his opinions, even religious, provided their manifestation does not disturb the public order established by law. Well, if they'd stopped before the underlined part, it wouldn't be so bad. But if you add the underlined part, what does that mean? Don't break the law. We can pass any law we damn please, just don't break it. Now, it is true that you can't be disquieted for your religious opinions if there's no law against them. But we could outlaw anything that we wanted. Free communication of ideas and opinions is one of the most precious of the rights of man. Consequently, every citizen may speak, write, and print freely. And then they went on. Subject to responsibility for the abuse of such liberty in the cases determined by the law. So again, sovereignty resides in the nation to determine what your rights are. Whereas the American Constitution is explicitly anti-democratic. So a lot of the questions that you get deny the premise of the question. It's much harder for you to answer questions if you accept the status premise behind them. So you'll be surprised, I think, at how quickly you can get people to understand the difference and the alternative that you offer. If you say, after all, it's we the people of the United States, that's where sovereignty comes from. Any sovereignty the nation has is subsidiary and derived. And Congress shall make no law. Congress shall make no law respecting establishment of religion and so on. Now, the argument that I've often tried to make about our importance as a party is freedom of speech is one thing. Right of the people peaceably to assemble is the reason why restrictions on parties are wrong, or restrictions on organizations are wrong. I wrote a brief, I participated in writing a brief for the recent the Citizens United case that was decided by the Supreme Court. And Chief Justice Roberts actually cited that brief in oral questioning. And by a 5-4 decision, big parts of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act were struck down. So some of the First Amendment was reinstated. This is an exciting time for liberty. There's a lot of people out there that recognize that something is changing. So you as a candidate have nothing to apologize for. You're part of a vanguard that can retake something that has been lost.